jobs, but I want to do more commercial, like constant monthly pickups for commercial sites like Target, Lowe's, stuff like that. That's what I want to see myself into this couple down the road.
So, Jaime, you probably can't see what I'm writing on this board right now, but I'm sticking up approximate revenue figures for junk doctors from the first 5 years we were in business.
Mm-hmm.
And our very first year we did about 70,000. You did 68,000. Our second year we did about 140K. You're already ahead of that. Now again, I didn't know a whole lot back then, so there was a lot of stuff we had to learn. The third year we doubled. We were at about 400K. The fourth year we were about 800K, and the fifth year was when we crossed over to like 1.2 million. So you, at your first year was at just almost exactly in line with ours. So you've got great potential to really achieve that dream business that you're talking about, that you want to get to. So what kind of issues are you facing right now?
I'm facing about for example, I mean, would it matter if I tell you, how much profit out of what income I have? I mean, or is that something kind of more personal?
No, you could. And now you're drawing a salary as well, aren't you?
Yeah, man, I'm only, I was doing $750 a week, but then I dropped it down to $600 a week.
Okay. So you're paying yourself $600 a week right now, so a little over $30,000. Okay. And what's your profit like?
My profit, man, for the business, he says it's 9,000. I don't know how. I mean, I don't know if that's good, or I don't know if that's. I think that's good. I think that's bad, but I don't see it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So what you have now is you're doing a lot of the right stuff. So you're very much investing back into your business with your advertising, and that's eating into a lot of what you earn. And that's very much what we talk about, is being very aggressive on your advertising. Normally, if you do that for about a year and a half, those advertising percentages start to come down and your profits begin to go back up. Even though you've been in business for a few years now, you've only recently started to be pretty aggressive on growing that company and getting it to that independent stage, that true independent stage that I talk about. So you're going through kind of the beginning stages where your advertising expense is a bit higher. What will happen is, as people reuse you, as they refer you and they post reviews online, those percentages are going to start to come down. So in that end, so you're paying yourself a salary already. You're already earning, it's like $35,000, plus you've got additional $9,000 in profit through the end of June. So that means overall you'll make around 50 to 60K this year, most likely. So that's pretty solid. That's a decent job. You're probably working a lot, but that's pretty solid, and that's something you can definitely build on. Since you are profitable, you can keep reinvesting in your business. And a couple years from now, that might be 150K a year profit if you keep on the same track that you're going. You keep expanding your advertising, and you keep adding crews and adding trucks and all that sort of stuff. You're definitely trending correctly. So the step your profit's okay right now. You have 3 people working for you currently. Is that correct?
Yes, full-time and 2 part-timers that they usually work after 5.
Okay. And
that's usually on bigger jobs. Like on this one, it's too far from them. But so right now they're not working. But 3 full-time, and 1 dump truck, and then the truck I operate on, the 8th with some sides. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know, man. This is, something of what's my problem. My problem is I don't know if I have too much labor, or I don't know if I need to let go of 1 guy, to put my profit up, or that's gonna, jeopardize my income by me having to be on job sites, because I just have 2 guys.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I make more money not being in the job sites, because I'm able to go give estimates, take care of same day service, single item pickups, one full size pickup, stuff like that. So
yep. So
what should I do? I mean, what do you recommend?
Yeah, Jaime. I mean, you need more sales, and you're in the stage right now, which is what we call gradual expansion. So basically, that's when you're trying to grow your company and you're spending you're spending more money to do that. You've got the Google ads going, you've got your Facebook ads going. I mean, you're spending a fair amount of money to gain customers, and you have that acquisition cost that's eating into your profit. I don't think you need to lay anybody off. If anything, since you are profitable, if anything, you might just need to increase your efforts somewhere else. So, I mean, it could be calling up professional organizers, attending realtor meetings, hosting luncheons for realtors. If you pay for the lunch, they'll actually allow you to, a lot of times, set up a booth. You can hand out business cards and talk to them. I think, if anything, you actually need to rely more on the guys that you have, so you can in turn begin really building on that business. What that means, Jaime, is though you're not extremely profitable now, you're actually going to be less profitable than before. But you should be able to still get it where your business is turning a bit of a profit, and you still have got that, and you're able to pay that salary that you're currently making right now. You got to figure out a way to live on that so you can kind of sacrifice now. So a year from now and 2 years from now, you've got an income that's 3 times what you're making or 4 times what you're making. You're not having to be on the truck all the time. That's kind of what you're going after. And you're in that stage now. Gradual expansion is the stage that I mentioned at the top of the show. I don't know if you heard it. A lot of business owners rush this stage. And what happens when they rush it is they get frustrated. They give up. A lot of times they let go of people. They cut back on their advertising, and they just kind of convince themselves they need to get smaller, and they get their profits as high as possible. But what they're doing is they're cutting themselves off from being able to build up that business that can kind of run independent without you. So you do not want to rush the stage. You're doing some good steps. If anything, you need to do more of what you're doing now. And it's certainly not lay people off. It's train people and get more people and rely on them more to do things correctly and implement systems to really grow. Because you're very much in the stage where you need to make sure you're growing. You don't want to retract here. It can be easy to do if you're not careful.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Okay. I mean, and if it didn't, I could always play back the video until I make it make sense. So.
There you go. Listen to it until it makes sense. All right, so the one thing that I'd like you to do is I'd like you on your Google Ads and to get with management company, which in this case is us, but I don't have it memorized. Get with Shane and figure out your search impression share. Figure out if you're showing almost 100% of the time. If you're not, since it is profitable and your acquisition cost is good, you might want to increase your budget to Google in order to, or maybe even decrease your position. Don't talk about your budget on here, but you're probably going to make sure you're at about 100% impression share by either increasing your budget or decreasing your bid, which will allow it to show more. And then let's see if that increases your sales. Every job you get, you're profitable on now. You just got to get more jobs, and that's what's so critical for you right now.
Yeah, I'm all game. I'm all for it.
All right. The one other thing I'll mention, you're at about 100K through June. So that means you're on pace to do about 200,000 this year. Are you running the trucks you have? Again, you said it's 2 trucks or 3 trucks? Two. Okay. So you're probably good.
Only one of them's a 14 cubic yard dump truck. The other one is it's a 8-foot bed with some sides that equals it to 6 cubic yards at a time. That you could load up.
You said 6 cubic yards?
Yes.
Okay.
I use that for single item pickups and 1 pickup loads or 2 pickup loads.
So probably towards the end of this year, if it's possible. I don't know what your credit score is like. If you've got decent credit, you might want to go out and purchase another dump truck, 14-yard truck, towards the end of the year, and then that way you can write it off on your taxes, and you won't have to pay any, or you'll reduce the amount of taxes. You might not have to pay any taxes at all. With the way your profit is on your business profit at the end of the year, you can go out, you can purchase a new truck, you can put $5,000 or $10,000 down depending on your credit, and then if you get a $30,000 vehicle, if your business winds up profiting $20,000-$30,000 at the end of the year, you write that off all in the same year. You won't have to pay any taxes whatsoever, and you're gonna have that dump truck ready for next year because your goal next year needs to be about $350,000 or $400,000. You're gonna want to look to double about what you're doing this year.
Okay.
So, you got any other questions? Any final questions before we go on to Blake?
Yeah, man. Hey, it's close right now. Yeah, it's close. I'm sorry, there was some people going in the museum. Hey, motivation. Guys, look,
hey, Jaime. One second. Try again. There's a bunch of background noise there.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, motivation for employees, man. I give them bonuses like the museum. I'm gonna give them a bonus. The federal contract we have, which we're gonna do it again next week. I give them a bonus. In review incentives, but sometimes I feel like they're slacking. I mean, is that normal? Because I imagine, good workers being always motivated, always being, with energy and stuff, and showing up on time every time. And, they're always like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes late to my house. And that kind of, I don't know, man, that disappoints me.
Yeah.
What can I do? Should I start looking for different people, or should I? Because every time, I have a job pop up out of nowhere, they always show up.
Yeah. So how many hours a week are your guys getting?
Man, this past 3 weeks, we've been getting 30 to 45 hours.
Okay, excellent. So they're getting enough, as long as they're getting 30, 40 hours, then they're getting enough hours to make sure they take their job seriously, where they're actually earning enough money. A lot of people have issues when they're using their friends or real part-timers and only work 10 or 15 hours, and at that point they look at it as like they're helping you and not the other way around. What you need to do is you need to make sure they understand that from here on that tardies slow everything down. One person being late is going to increase your labor costs because you've got one guy sitting around when you could already be on the road heading to that first job. So, and you're having to pay that individual while he's there. You need to put in a tardy policy. We allow 3 tardies per quarter. No questions asked on any of them. If you're a minute late, if you're 20 minutes late, we're going to write you up. It's going to hit you with that one tardy. The one exception being if somebody keeps sleeping in and they have like two in a row, they have like 2 that are like 2 hours late. Then in that case, another meeting is needed at that point. But what we do is there's no excused or unexcused tardies. If you're a minute late, 3 minutes late, whatever, we write you up and it hits that file. If you get 3 1/4, you're told, hey, you got, that's it for that quarter. If that person hits the 4th one, then generally we put in a good week suspension. We meet with them and we let them know, hey, no more. And if they hit that 5th one, at that point, they're let go. And Jaime, if you let one person get by with being tardy, the rest of the organization, it's going to spread out to them. So you kind of have to set that tone right, as soon as possible. When they've already gotten used to a particular culture, it is going to be hard to enforce that. So you're going to have some guys that will, you're going to have some guys that won't. That means you're probably going to need to move some guys out. That's one of the reasons we always have a policy where we're always hiring, so we're always doing interviews. What that means is we stand a better chance at getting more motivated individuals who are willing to work harder. And that also lets people know that, hey, we can continue on without you. We have other people in place here. Your performance has to pick up because you got another guy that's kind of nipping at your heels. So we talk about then, it's kind of like treat it like it's a sports team. So the guys that do well get the playing time, they get paid more, and the guys that don't get as much time, they don't get paid as well. So you mentioned, one of the things you mentioned was incentives. If you're going to give incentives, they need to be performance-based. Don't just give out a big bonus because you get a really big job. You need to see, and don't give a bonus to everybody at that big job. You need to figure out which of those guys really busted their butt for you and went the extra mile and showed up on time, worked hard, got more loads done, didn't goof off, wasn't taking a break every hour or whatever on that big job. They really stuck to it and they got that job done in a timely manner. That person deserves a bonus. And going to guys and your guys and telling them, hey, if you get to the point you can quote jobs at least on this average, you can quote successfully, 95% of the time. Your average job is above 350. If you do all this, you're worth to me $17, $18, $19 an hour maybe, depending on your market. If you can't do that, if you're tearing equipment up, if your job average is low, if your job cancellation rate is high, then you're only, then at that point you're only worth $11, $10, $11, $12 an hour to me. So you make a big gap between the guys that do good and the guys that don't. And if you put that in place, you're going to have a lot more success with your truck team. The only other thing I can add is telling them is let them know that beforehand. So set those clear parameters on Aaron. screen right there.
Yep.
Set those clear parameters on what they can do to get paid more, and you're going to have a lot more success with it. But that's very difficult in this stage of the business, is this whole hiring and training thing.
Yeah,
So.
it's the biggest headache there is.
Yep. So, Jaime, I appreciate you being on this evening. Your website, it's riosjunkremoval.com, right?
riosjunk.com.
riosjunk.com. Okay, so check out Rios Junk Removal at riosjunk.com. Appreciate you coming on this evening, and let's do a follow-up call maybe in a month or so and see see where you're at that point and see if you're moving along.
Okay, that sounds good. Me and Lee, I appreciate you taking your time and giving me a call and putting me on air.
Well, I appreciate your willingness to share it, and we'll be talking to you here soon.
All right, Lee. Thank you.
Okay,
You have a good one.
You too.
Bye-bye.
All right, so I say Jaime, and maybe sometimes I hear Jaime, sometimes he says Jamie, so he said Jamie there, so I'll say Jamie. Jamie's got a good little business going on. You know, he struggled a little bit. What he was talking about at the top of the show when he first came on was he did post-construction cleanup. I'm sorry, not post-construction. He did construction cleanup. So the way construction cleanup works, I think what he was doing is he was building these 4x8 wooden pins, and the contractors that are building new houses would put debris in them, and then he'd come by once a week or twice a week or whatever and pick the stuff up. Generally, the way that works is you're paid per square foot of the house. So if you have a 2,000 square foot house and you get paid 40 cents per square foot for that entire house, you get paid $800. And 40 cents per square foot in Oklahoma, there's a lot of people doing it for 40 cents. We do construction cleanup and we charge over 3 times that. We do a very low volume, but the ones we do an extremely good job for. They rarely have to call us to pick up the stuff that's overflowing from the bins. We keep the bins in good shape. We pick up nails when we're done. If they call us out for a special trip, we're out there. So we do a really good job. We found out a way to really pack in a bunch of value to get higher margins. We don't do a tremendous amount of volume with construction cleanup, but for the 2 or 3 builders that use us, they're extremely happy with the service they receive, and to them, it's worth more for them to be able to focus on building the house than on getting trash picked up. Their previous vendors, they were constantly having to call them. They were getting complaints from the HOA, from the city for trash on the streets. We're able to get in there and take care of it because we make enough money that it's worth it to us to go that extra mile. Typically on post-construction cleanup, you're paid in 3 phases. You're paid post-framing, post-drywall, and then at the very conclusion of the job, it's normally 30 days. A lot of times it's net 30 after each of those phases. So you're going to carry a pretty big accounts receivable balance too. So that really cuts into your cash flow. You're still having to pay your guys every week or every 2 weeks or every month, where you might go months before you get paid for the work you did on post-construction cleanup. So he got out of that model. He moved on to a more aggressive junk removal model. He's on pace to do $200,000 this year. That's a good second year. Jamie's not one of those guys that came into this with a bunch of money at the start where he can invest a lot in to really, really, really grow fast. He's having to do this organically, just like we did with Junk Doctors. And the growth is a bit slower than some of our, we've got business package customers that are doing $20K in their second month, doing $30K in their 6th or 7th month. But those guys, most of them started out with a lot more money at the start. Jamie had to really grow it organically. Before we get on to Blake, which we need to get him on the phone shortly, do we have any questions at all from anybody?
Yeah, so we had our first question from Sam on Facebook. What were the approximate profit margins during those first 5 years?
Yeah, so they were low because since he was doing, I'm sorry, for Junk Doctors, I revert back around. When we first started, that first year on the 70K we did the first year, hell, we probably profited 50K because I did a lot of the jobs myself. It was, we were going out doing cash. It was with, we were using these convenience centers. We'd have full-on uniforms on. We'd have signs on our trailer that looked super professional, but you couldn't be a commercial operation and use these citizens convenience centers. So what we do after each job, we'd go to a gas station, we'd take our shirt off, we'd put on an old t-shirt, we'd take the signs off the trailer, and then we'd roll to these convenience sites. And there's about 20 of them in the area, so we would rotate between them so none of the guys became too suspicious. And then we found a few guys that actually worked there that liked us a lot. We gave them stuff, we cut up with them, we brought them lunch, and they allowed us to do that for about a year or so. When we got our first dump truck, that's when we started going to the actual landfills. So on that 70K, I mean, it's basically paying gas. From time to time, repairing a tire. There's no disposal fees because we were going to these convenience sites. We probably profited 50K, so I don't know what are those margins. Probably, 80% margins, I would guess. So the second year, we started Google Ads. I believe somewhere in the second year, I started earning a salary. Christian started earning pay as well. So the margins probably came down to 15%. They actually got lower in the third year because we started getting really aggressive on advertising. They were probably 10 or 12%. That's after paying us. By the year three, I think I was at like a $60,000 salary, and Christian was probably somewhere around a $50,000, $60,000 salary as well. So we were making money, but the margins were low. It wasn't until we really passed like the 1.5 mark that the margins got up closer to 17, 18%, and then now we're on pace to do $3 million this year. We'll probably see somewhere or in the neighborhood of 20% profit margins. Could it be done more efficiently and more profitably? Yes. And actually, I'll plug one of our products here, that Jerry Business Package, where you get unlimited consulting with us, and we train you up front. You're probably, by year three, going to be what took us to do 5 years, if not better. I mean, like I said, we've got a company in their second month doing 20K. We were probably a year and a half or 2 years in business. Let's see, my benchmark used to be 3K a week was considered good, and that was probably year two. So it was almost third year in business before we did 20K in a month, and we've got guys doing that in their second month. So margins go for volume first, get volume first by aggressively advertising. The margins will come later. All right, got anything else?
Yeah, so we've got another question. This one's on YouTube from Alex, and it says, how do you reconcile an always hiring policy when you're only operating with a couple people? What's the turnover rate for employees, and when do you bring in that person instead of the original?
Yeah, so when you are small, the always hiring policy is definitely tough. What happens is anytime you get staffed up, you get to the point you become super, super selective on who you hire. So there's going to be sometimes, if we're short-staffed, I'm a realist here, guys. If we're short-staffed, we're going to sometimes hire somebody that we might not hire if we're fully staffed. So you're going to kind of adjust that. Just like if you're, in the, I'm trying to make a sports analogy here, but I mean, if there's going to be certain teams that aren't going to spend a whole lot of money on bringing in really good free agents if they already have a really good crew and if they're staffed up. But if they're just finished if they're a hockey team that just finished 28th in the league and they have a low payroll, there's a good opportunity they're going to be looking to bring somebody that's really good on and bring on more people because their current staff isn't really performing. So I guess that's the best way I can say it there. There is the turnover rate in junk removal. It's very rare for an employee to last longer than 2 years if they don't advance to another position. We have a few guys that are over 2 years. We have a few guys working on their third year. In junk removal, there's not generally, with most junk removal companies, there's not, but so high you can go. You can get to a management position, but you're only going to have maybe one manager unless you go into another location. So the really good guys reach their peak, and it's like, all right, well, these guys are going to become less motivated because there's less they can really achieve. So a lot of times they'll leave. And then it just seems to be that 2 year mark. Somewhere around the 2 year mark, we generally see a fall off in performance, and we kind of have to meet with these people and say, hey, you've been doing this deal 2 years. It's hard work. It's hard labor. Your back gets sore. We understand that. You either need to pick your performance back up to what it was, though, or we need to start, you need to start kind of looking at other options, one or the other. And we've had to have that talk with a few guys. Some have rebounded, done great, still with us. Other ones have said, I appreciate that feedback. They went on, they found another job, and they're doing great now. We don't really care either way because we're always hiring. We'd love them to stick around if they can continue their current performance, but they have options. So let's take one final question. We got to get Blake on because it's starting to get late.
All right, we can go ahead and get Blake on. Most of these are comments or conversations.
Excellent. Okay, sounds good. We'll try and cover some final questions after we get Blake done. I think Blake's got a family and all. I don't want to keep him too late. All right.
Good evening, Lee. How you doing?
Doing great, man. My time estimation isn't very good. I appreciate you sticking in there for me.
That's all right.
So Blake is with Junk Co. out of Louisville, Kentucky. The website is louisvillejunkco.com, right, Blake?
Yes.
Okay, so check out louisvillejunkco.com. And Blake, if you could kind of just lead off and just tell us a little bit about your background. You've owned another business, so kind of tell us about that and what led you into junk removal.
Sure, yeah, no problem. Yeah, I have a grounds maintenance business that I've had for several years. I've been in that industry since I was 12. I'm 30 now. And the way that I kind of got into the junk removal business was several years ago years and years ago, I guess, when Yellow Pages was actually running the book, that there was one slot that was left for what I was paying for, and junk removal was one of the options. I did that. It was very short-lived, but we had actually gotten a job that somebody wanted to have a car removed, and at that time I actually paid them for the car, $75 for the car. They said it didn't run. Stuff was all wrong with it. Long story short, brakes were seized up. We washed it. The next day I put it out, actually in my front yard. Sold it for $575. So within 24 hours, we made $500 on it.
Oh yeah.
The light kind of went off. I had dabbled a little bit potentially with actually purchasing a franchise. However, I had purchased a franchise with my lawn care business and got a very sour taste in my mouth, and I wasn't going to go that route anymore. So kind of always, it's been in the back of my head for probably about 8 years that I wanted to do something like that. Finally pulled the trigger and was watching you on YouTube and just took the plunge.
Awesome. Okay. So your first year in junk removal was last year. Is that correct?
Yes. We started technically with the state April 1st of 18.
Okay. And in that first year, and I know there were times, I'm going to take one of my favorite words, you kind of dabbled in it. You had your other business going on. You kind of lost a little focus on junk removal, which isn't bad in your case. You had to make sure that primary business was still bringing you in money. But what was your revenue kind of like in that first year from April to December of 2018?
Yeah, so I definitely dabbled in it. I think partially through October, and for sure November and December was completely flatlined. I didn't pay attention to it at all. I was kind of discouraged. But from what I remember, which is actually very similar to Jamie's, but it was from April 1st through December, the tax records was right around $68,000, almost exactly the same as Jamie.
Okay, so I'm going to put you at $70K, which is exactly what Junk Doctors did its first year as well. Okay. All right, and so far this year, you've been able to focus in a bit more. Do you think you started focusing back in January, or was it maybe February or March before you started paying close attention to it?
I think it was, actually, I can go out here and look on the board. I think that March was whenever we actually started getting with you guys, and March was really when I started focusing on the junk removal business again.
Okay. So
January and February was kind of a wash as well through the wintertime.
Okay. So, yeah, and then January and February is always is much, much slower, obviously. Though, you should have a better January and February because you're doing a lot more so far. So far this year, approximately what have you done through the end of June?
Approximately about 75 to 80,000.
Okay. Excellent.
From March till June.
So in half the year, you've already done more than what you did. Oh, I'm sorry. You said March through June, you've done 80K.
Yes.
What about from beginning of January? Do you remember?
I don't have any records on that. I have actually the numbers for each of those months from March through June that we've done.
Yeah, let's do that. If you don't mind sharing that, let's do it.
Yeah. So I've got the actual total figures for March and April for the total gross sales. March we did about 8,700.
Okay.
April we did 13,250.
Okay.
And I think that's about the time that we started doing Google Ads. And in May we did 15,000, and in June we did 26,500.
Okay, so I'm assuming you're looking for another truck. You should be.
We've got one to either go purchase Friday or Monday, depending on my personal schedule.
Okay, excellent. Because we generally figure about 25 to 30,000 is about as much as you're going to do out of a truck. So that's awesome. So just from March, so what he said is January and February, he was still kind of not really paying a whole lot of attention to his junk side. Started back in March. began what I guess he pretty much joined what we'd call that third stage, the same stage Jamie was in, which is that gradual expansion stage in basically April. Started some Google ads. He's doing a little bit of Facebook stuff now, a few other odds and ends. He hit 13,250 in April, 15,000 May, 26,500. Dang, you almost doubled between May and June. Coming up on it. So you can kind of see that growth that he's had while he's in that stage. He's just ordering a second truck now. So Blake, what do you want to build this junk removal business to? I mean, what's kind of your dream with this junk removal business?
Well, I've written this down, and I do have a dream for this. So we want to get, I believe, the first city that we're in, once we get to 3 trucks running close to full potential, I actually want to move into total, in the next 5 years, 3 locations. Some secondary markets that are close to Louisville.
Yep.
And I would like to have the first location I'm currently in, which is Louisville, at roughly 7 trucks running full time. The second location that we're going to move into after we get to the 3rd truck in 5 years, 5 trucks, and then at the end, the 4th or 5th year in business, try to have the 3rd location at 2 or 3 trucks running in that location. And then to take that a step further, I actually want to add 2 different services that the company would perform.
Yep.
And then the overall big picture for that would be to each location be running the junk removal business out of each of those cities, and then purchase some ground and have our own transfer station at each location.
Yep.
And then build some warehouse units that would be rental income for passive income.
Excellent.
So we'd have that in 3 different cities.
That's awesome. So, and that's a lot of what we want to do with junk doctors as well. So get on a transfer station, do some storage. All those businesses really relate to each other. They can all be on the same piece of property. So that's fantastic. What kind of revenue figure are you hoping just out of the junk removal business, say in 5 years from now?
$4+ million.
Awesome. Love it, brother. Okay. So 4 million plus, it likely once you get to 4 million, you will have 3 locations there, but you can probably still expect to be somewhere around 20% profit margins. So Mr. Gordon's going to be making somewhere around a cool $800K at that figure. So that'll be pretty sweet. We'll have to go on a vacation when you hit that.
I'll pay for it.
There you go. I'll let you pay for it. All right. So, okay, so what questions do you have right now? Because we want to help you work towards that 5-year thing, but you got to execute immediately. So what do you need to get done right now, or what problems do you have?
So my immediate question is, so we've talked about, and you just said that a truck's capacity, I guess, per month for the revenue is approximately $25,000-$30,000 per month per truck, and that's pushing the limit to 30. So I want to know, how do we're moving from 1 truck and purchasing a second by next week at the latest. How do I sustain the what we did in June, 26.5, sustain that and build that second truck to where we constantly are building and building and building to be able to get to those other locations in that dream. So what do I need to do?
Yep. Okay, so you're going to have July, August, September, and October. You basically have 4 months left that we consider months that you can you can still aggressively grow. That you're probably going to see this 26.5 grow some. Now, that's a really good month compared to what you did in May. So if you can sustain that 26,000 through July through October, you're going to be doing an excellent job, because that's such a good month. What you need to do once you start that new truck is you need to go ahead and get a crew. You need to go ahead and run 2 trucks as often as you possibly can. And I'm going to tell you why, and that is you want to make sure you're not missing out on same-day appointments, because you're going to have some people that have to go the very same day. And
Absolutely.
At 26,500, that truck was slammed, I can guarantee you. I mean, you had guys working long hours every single day, most likely. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got 3 guys, and 2 of them alternating back and forth right now until we get that second truck. But yeah, there was one, the crew leader on that truck was 45, 55 hours a week.
Okay, so you said 3 guys or 4 guys right now?
I've got 3 guys, and 2 of them are alternating to try and keep them at 40 hours apiece without me going into overtime and giving them both 40.
So, or would if you consider these guys to be pretty reliable, you're going to need to hire at least 2 more. If you think these guys, there's a couple of them that aren't very reliable, you might even want to get up to 6, and that might scare the hell out of you because you're essentially doubling the amount of people on your payroll. Now that doesn't mean that doesn't mean that these 3 additional guys are all full time. You might want to try and hire. If you, I know you guys got some colleges around there. If you can find some college kids that are off 2 or 3 days a week, if you can find somebody that has another job that's off 2 or 3 days out of the week, then at that point you can get some guys that are good, but they're not having to get 20, 30, 40 hours a week. And then that way, with that second truck, you know, there's going to be days on that second truck you might only run it 4 hours, 3, 4 hours, or say 4 hours in a day. We generally don't want to work our guys less than 4 hours on the shift because at that point it's not really taking care of them because they had to drive in, all that kind of stuff. So what you're going to do with that is you're going to want yard signs and door hanger flyers printed up on those trucks, because what's going to happen, since you're running 2 trucks, you're going to get gaps in jobs because you're going to be ahead of schedule. So you want to make sure those guys are putting out yard signs, they're putting out door hanger flyers. You might look to volunteer at a charity, and you still haven't completely moved forward with SEO with us. If you do that, then we can help facilitate this. If not, I'll tell you how to do it. What you can do is find a local charity. Around here we have like Habitat for Humanities that build houses, and they also have restores. You can do one of 2 things. You can volunteer at the store, helping them unload trucks, sort stuff up in the store. They'll normally let you put a truck outside. You can get pictures, and you can actually run a press release. You can syndicate a press release through either PR Web or Newswire. I think there might be 1 or 2 other ones. Those are the 2 we use. And on that, you take pictures, you talk about what you're doing. You'll see if the manager can you can do a quick interview. And you'll put that out there, and then you'll try and send it out to some local news stations and all as well. And there, from time to time, you can actually get real news coverage. But what will also happen is you can take that press release and you can put it on your Facebook page. You can stick it in other areas that might get shared, and then it'll also improve your SEO, because even though I don't want to get too technical in SEO talks, but the links back from a press release are considered to be no follow. It actually does improve SEO though. So you've got a lot of benefits going on there. You also get your word out. You figure out, or you have those guys with business cards. Oftentimes people that come to a donation center actually have larger items that they can't get to that donation place. So it's an excellent opportunity for you to pass your business card out, get known, and have a really good, that's going to really help out your reputation. And there's a very good opportunity you get a lot of business from that. You basically have to take your additional crew and you have to turn them into salespeople and marketers for you, so you can fill up that second crew. And you go into the third, you go into the 4th truck, 5th truck, and so on and so forth. You've got to keep those guys busy.
Gotcha. So I had one idea, and it might be a little bit further along than what you're saying, but it's kind of along the same lines for a press release. So when we get the second truck and we get it all labeled up and things keep going the way they're going, what I had actually spoken with one of my employees about was having some kind of charity event that, and I had to figure out how we would do this to where we have minimal cost, or hopefully a no cost, to do like a fundraising event for children or something of that nature.
Yep. That
we would have an area on a certain day and have it all day long, free food, and partner with a restaurant or something like that we've got around here, and try to have the radio or the TV cover this.
Yep.
And call it like a fill the trucks kind of day, and bring the trucks out and fill them full of toys and hand them out or something of that nature to kids that are needy in hospitals or something along that line, to kind of get some coverage and then just give back to the community as well.
Yes. Yeah, it's an excellent idea. What I generally, as long as you have the reach to really get the word out. So if you know enough people to really get it spread, where people come to you and they tell others and they share stuff on Facebook about that event, it's an excellent way to go about it. The other thing you can do is you can partner with other local companies. You guys have Chick-fil-A in Louisville, don't you?
Yes.
Chick-fil-A is an excellent group to work with, because every single Chick-fil-A store has a dedicated marketing director for that very one store. So approach that marketing director and talk to them about maybe potentially working together. And you'd have to work out the details on what your pitch would be. But they're generally very, very open to doing that, maybe providing food. You might want to look at having like a blood drive vehicle come out to you. If you can get enough people, you can actually have, one of the mobile units could actually come out. People could actually do a blood drive as well. And then you could also do any of your other charity type stuff that you were talking about, about doing. And just, you need to partner with as many different companies as you can to get a good showing. Your local chamber of commerce, you might want to reach out to them, because the key on these things is getting out as many people as possible. So even if it's not just a Junko event, even if you're the one that helps facilitate and put it on, or even if you already find one where people are already putting on an event like that, and you actually ask them, this might be the easiest thing, you actually ask them if you could come out, donate some stuff, set up a booth, and hand out lemonade or whatever like that, candy, whatever. If they let you do that, you might be able to piggyback on somebody else's hard work, because it's a lot of work to do those events right.
Okay.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay.
Those are some brainstorming ideas that I've had in the last couple of weeks, but took it a step further.
Yeah. Well, get involved with those charities. It's very easy. All of them, pretty much all of them will allow, well, I won't say all, but 80% of them will allow you to volunteer your time. And in exchange, you can put a truck out front and maybe give a business card. The other thing is a lot of these charities won't go to a second floor. So if customers are unable to get stuff down to the second floor, meaning some of these charities do free pickups, but they won't go onto a second floor. So you can potentially get referrals from that charity if you're involved enough over there that they send you any business that's on that second floor.
Okay.
Blake, what else you got, man? You got any other questions?
No, I don't believe so.
So your action items out of this is you need to figure out, you need to hire an additional, I'm gonna say 2 to 3. I know you're not gonna do 3, but you need at least 2 more. I'm pretty confident you won't. You need to do at least 2 more guys. Again, the key on hiring, get that Indeed ad up, call them immediately as soon as the resume comes through, call immediately and go ahead and start interviewing them over the phone. Make it be very quick. Get them in the office as quick as you can to do another in-person interview, and get them hired fast, because it's an extremely competitive job market out there. Get 2 more guys hired up though, and like I said, keep that truck rolling. Signs, marketing, and charities. And before you know it, you'll be running 2 of those crews pretty consistently. And also look into your impression percentage. I think you're showing 100% of the time, or daggone close to it with Google Ads. But you can increase your spend on Facebook ads, because that's looking. I don't want to go into exact details on that campaign, but I think it's your leads you're getting are at a good cost. And then as far as at Google Ads, you make sure you're showing 100% of the time. Make sure you're doing that comparison campaign too.
Let me ask you a couple questions, actually, with what you said. So, with Google Ads, there's a percentage I'm trying to stay under. So, if we were to open up into either adding more to the budget per week or day or month or whatever it is, as long as we stay within the percentages that I want to stay within for marketing, how would that do if we bumped it, a couple $100 a day or several $1,000 a month? Is it something that's gonna?
Yeah. So let's not go into exact spend figures on this, because I don't want to give away some information. You've got some competitors that listen, but I will talk about. I will answer your question, which is the first thing is we need to figure out if you're showing 100% of the time that you're eligible to show. So if we get on, which means you're not maxing your budget out. If you're maxing your budget out and you're only showing like 60% or 70% of the time, then basically we can take more or less, it's an exact science, but we can take the amount of money that you're currently earning, and let's say you're showing 70% of the time, we take what you're currently earning from Google Ads, and we figure, all right, just by increasing your budget by X amount, where you're showing 100% of the time, we're probably going to see 30% more business. So that's the quickest way for immediate growth. It doesn't always work out 100%. You want to do it in stages normally, but that's the first thing we need to look at. I think you're showing 90 or 100% of the time. So now we need to look and see if there's any other keywords you can focus in on, or any other locations you might be able to expand out into within your current service area. If in that case you don't have that as an option, then you need to turn your attention towards like a Facebook, which is doing well, even though you're not spending a ton of money on it. turning your attention towards your Facebook, increasing the budget there to attempt to get more customers in that route.
Okay. I've got one more question.
Okay.
If you can help me out, or maybe we can do this off air.
Yep.
The numbers that I told you about for the past 4 months, can you give me an idea of what I should be pushing for the month of July for our monthly growth goal from what we've done the past 4 months?
Man, if you could equal June, get 25K. See, July. Sometimes July has got a downtick in income. You've got a lot of people that are traveling. It's also extremely hot in a lot of markets. I don't know what the hottest month in Louisville is, but a lot of times July has just a slight downtick from June. Not always. We've had years where July did better than June. But if you could do that 25K in July, you'd be doing fantastic. And then August, you might shoot for a 28 to 30K month. September and October, somewhere between 25 and 30. And then you're going to start a little bit of a downtick in November and December. December could be decent. And then January and February are going to fall flat on its face. You're probably going to do half of what you were doing. So in January and February of next year, if you do 15 to 18K, that's going to be a really good month. Or actually, really 12 to 15K would be a really good month come January and February before you start that gradual uptick in March.
Okay, so with the numbers that I gave you, can you give me an idea of what you expect 2019, 2020 to kind of round out the whole year from April to April?
Yeah.
To be?
So you're talking about April 20 to April of 21, or April? What are you talking about there?
April 2019, earlier this year, April to April 2020, the full 12 months.
All right, so let me take a look right here, Blake. So right now you're at. You told me you were at about what 80? Was it 80K? Is what you're at now almost?
Roughly, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So 80K, and that was through the end of June. That was basically March through June.
Correct.
Okay. You just did 25. So we've got, hopefully we can see 25,000 in August, September, and October. So that's times 3. It's going to be 75,000. And then you're going to have November and December. If we hit, obviously these are very, very rough approximations, but if we can hit, though I think I might be a little low on that. Let's put this, what I just estimated. Let's actually put that at about 82,500. Let's have your November and December be, you probably bring in about 40K between those 2 months, maybe a bit more, but let's say 40,000. And then we got January and February. You're going to do good to do 26,000 in January and February on both of those months, so 13K each month. And then you're going to turn around and you're going to be back in. You want me to do what, March to March?
Yes.
So you're probably going to end up somewhere, I'm going to say somewhere in the neighborhood of 160K from March 19 to March 2020. Based off those current numbers. But let me tell you something. I am normally very conservative in my approximations. It would not surprise me if you didn't hit 200K. If you did the charity stuff we're talking about, if you increased your advertising spend and became more aggressive on that, doing 200K between those, from April 19 to April 2020 is very well doable.
Sounds good.
All right, man. Well, hey, I really appreciate you being on the show. Again, this is Blake Gordon with Louisville Junk Co. Check him out at louisvillejunkco.com. Like his Facebook page. And Blake, really appreciate you coming on the show, sharing your experience. I hope it was valuable to you, and it was also extremely valuable to everybody that listens. That's awesome for you being willing to share that information and come on here.
Thanks for having me, Lee.
Okay, thank you, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Awesome, guys. So you heard from two junk removal business owners right there. Now, both of them are JRA customers. I would work with other people, but those are the ones that volunteered to be on the show. Guys, this is the format we want to go with from pretty much here on. We want to actually get live callers. Now, right now, it's very rudimentary. All I had is these guys on speakerphone. I have no idea how the audio quality was. Hopefully, it was decent. We will get it where it integrates in with our computer, Skype, whatever, where it's actually very crisp. But, one of the things I'm always going to tell you guys, when you're trying something new, try it simple, man. See if it works. And then keep rolling. You'll learn as you go. And you'll improve as you go. So I will address any last questions, any last-minute questions, comments. Aaron, we got any before we wrap? Because we're over an hour now.
Yeah, we had one, but he's going to schedule a consulting call so we can kind of answer those.
Fantastic, guys. You can do consulting calls at $300 an hour. Like I said, we'll do some more of these on air. These guys didn't pay anything because they were willing to come on here, share their knowledge with everybody else. They weren't charged at all. We do private consulting calls with me at $300 an hour. So be happy to work with him. Any other questions before we're out?
That's it.
Hey guys, really appreciate each and every one of you for watching. The junk removal business package that we have, we just sold another 2 of them today. They're $10,000. It includes full operations manuals, video training and testing series, in-person training here at the JRA office, a year's worth of unlimited consulting. We've got some website stuff that's included in there and training on every part of the business. It's basically going to put you in a position we were in like year 3 or year 5. And it's going to put you a hell of a lot ahead of the game, very far ahead of the game of myself, of Blake, of Jamie that you heard on here today. Check it. You can go to junkarray.com. You can fill out our contact form, and we'll reach out to you, or you can give us a call at 919-617-1975. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and give us a thumbs up or thumbs down. Let us know what you thought about today's episode. And if you're on YouTube but you're not on Facebook, we are becoming more active on our Facebook page. So check us out on Facebook, like us on Facebook, comment on Facebook, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys next Tuesday at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Again, I am Lee Godbold with Junk Removal Authority. This has been What's Your Problem? We look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you, guys.